Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Android App Addicts, episode 532. This is the show where we talk about apps, where we talk about hardware, where we talk about Android stuff, Huawei stuff, whatever else happens to cross our minds. My name is Mark, on very rare occasions known as the Sultan of the Soapbox Cockrell. And joining me here, as always, we're so excited to have back Eric, the manager. Arduini is with us tonight. Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Hey, Mark. I'm doing good right now. How are you doing?
I couldn't be better. Well, I could be, but, I'm fine. And, of course, the DoorToDoorGeek, the one, the only, the inimitable one, Steve McLaughlin. Hey, brother, how you doing?
I'm hydrated. I'm caffeined up tonight.
All right. Well, it's good that generally we get those two in the same package, hydration and caffeine. So it works out.
Mm-hmm. Hand in hand.
Testify.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Simon, the Patreon supporter from way back. Thank you, Simon, for bringing this show to us and to the audience.
Thank you, Simon. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think clearly I have to hand the mic over to the manager and let him speak to us all, since it's been like a month since you've been here, more than that. So
I don't know. I can't keep track. Yeah. So I've been going through a lot of medical issues lately and a lot of pain. So starting about a week and a half ago, I actually got some medicine for some pain. And then 6 days ago, I found out I've got stage 4 liver cancer, or stage 3 liver cancer. So now, tomorrow, we'll, probably keep taking some payment killers, but I get to go see somebody at a big hospital to find out what the plan of action is moving forward and how we can stop hurting so much and get back on the show more often. I got hardware news. I used Facebook for the one thing it's good for is buying used cell phones. Bought another one of them for my son. I got a Pixel for $100, so that was pretty cool.
The original Pixel?
Yeah. It turns out it was actually from a lady who owes me money, so I'm just gonna take it off her bill. It was weird. I typed in Pixel, and the only one that was for sale, she wanted $150 for it, and I'm like, oh, I know that name.
Oh my Lord!
Yeah,
go figure. I'll say, and I'll say this, Eric, really, really quick. Hey, I love you, man. It's always good to see you. Always good to talk to you. I looked at my stuff today at work. I literally have over 333 hours of combined leave. I love my family, my wife, and my kids. I already talked a bunch to the wife. Basically, for any reason, all you gotta do is say something, and I'll be on a flight out there if you or your family need any help doing any kind of stuff. And I seriously beg you that if stuff starts to get hard in any shape, way, or form, you definitely let us know. You let me know, and we will definitely be there for you.
will do. And I've had a lot of outpouring of support like that in the week that I've found this out. As of tomorrow, it'll be a week, for sure. I mean, I when you got a tumor the size of a softball on your liver, and then others to go with it, you kind of know something's going on. But like, I just got the actual name and number to go with it. So yeah, I even have a guy who said he will fly me to my appointment because he's familiar with the area, and there's a shuttle that'll take you straight to the hospital from that airport. Little things like that, there's been a lot of people helping me out. Anybody knows how to get some cancer karma? That'd be cool. I could use some of that.
Yeah. Well,
I don't
know nothing, Eric, but I know Eric Arduini, and I know you are among the nicest guys I've ever met. So it's about time people start to pay that respect back to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been disrespected on before, so no, it's just nice. And it makes you realize how many people you know, and guess I don't know. There's a lot of. I mean, I've had 3 pastors talk to me, just call me up, that I've worked with and done things with over the years, and it's just been really cool. And hopefully things, they're praying for miracles, and a miracle would be cool, but I'd just like to move forward and have a little bit of clarity in my future. That would be nice to find that out tomorrow.
Yeah, I did drop a message to my doctor. The one thing I always do to my doctor, I always plead utter ignorance. So I just said, I don't know anything about liver transplant. Tell me, am I capable of being a donor if I'm called upon, and what information do I need from the donee, and what information do we need from me, kind of thing. And I haven't heard anything back yet. Because here's the beautiful thing, people. The liver is the only organ, the only internal organ that you can donate, and then 3 years later, donate again. And then 3 years later, donate again. And then 3 years later, donate again. Because when you donate your liver, they basically cut out, I want to say, between 70 and 80% of your liver, give it to the other person, and then it basically grows back.
That would ruin your bikini line, though. I'm saying, just watch out for that.
Eric, the last time I had someone outside of a doctor's office or my bedroom see me without a shirt on is probably 30 years ago. I don't think we have to really worry about that.
Yeah, I think with 6 donations, you actually get 1,000 frequent flyer miles. So, it's worth looking into.
So I guess I will bring an app. This is a paid app that I bought that is called Pill Logger. Since I'm on medication, this is I just hit a button, tap twice, and I say, hey, I just took 1 or 2 pills, and it logs it for me. The paid version lets you export it to Excel, so you can print out a nice report to give to your doctor tomorrow. And it's like $1.50.
It's got narcotics and spreadsheets. This is the best app in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a trip, man. I've never been one for narcotics, but 2 weeks ago I was given tramadol, and this guy at the pharmacy, he's just got to be thinking, I don't know what he's thinking. Given tramadol, 3 days later I'm given Norco, and then like 5 days later I'm given Oxycontin. So now me and Rush Limbaugh have something in common.
Oh.
And if my prescription goes through tonight, I'm going to have morphine, which I've never partaked in either.
I believe I have the correct link here in the notes.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't even bring it up.
Okay, it looks like a pill logger meds tracker. Like a bluish bar at the top of the app.
I'm sorry. Let me find it. You guys go ahead and talk, and I'll find it real quick. Unless you don't have nothing to talk about.
You know me, I'm not one for words. I'm such a quiet and shy person.
No, I will say on the latest Geek Grant.
Pill Logger Meds Tracker, you are right. David Allen, or Allen Dev Co. Medical. That's the one.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it has 337 reviews, each for everyone. It says in-app purchases, but it only says between 99 cents and $5.
Yeah, mine was like $1.99 or $1.50 or something.
Gotcha.
Does it have like an alarm when it tells you need more?
I don't know. I mean, it does, but I'm not using that feature. All I'm using it is for.
You know when you need more, but
yeah, it's weird. It's every 3 hours. Whether I'm awake or asleep, it starts hurting. It's not like I wake up in screaming pain, but I just wake up and then I look over at my phone and it's like, oh, it's been exactly 3 hours. Something must have triggered me to wake up right now.
Yeah, in the description it does say it can set reminders.
Yeah, so down the road I might use it for that too. So I'm not going to stay long for the show. I got some paperwork to fill out with my son. He's thinking about joining the military and the National Guard. So we're going to fill that paperwork out tonight since he turned 18 yesterday. So I got 2 adult kids now. Mission accomplished there.
There
do
you
they
go.
act like adults?
What's that?
I said, do they act like adults?
Yeah, that man. I tell you what, they're good kids. They're both like not, very close to 4.0 grade point averages. Got accepted to the college he wanted to go to, found out how much it's going to cost him. And now he's going in the military. So someday, hopefully by the time, hopefully before the time your kids get that age, they'll have that stuff fixed, because that's pretty debilitating for the government, for the kids who live in America right now.
You didn't have $400,000 set aside so he could go to the college of his choice?
No, did not. Tried.
Talking to my oldest, she's 16 a while back, and she mentioned something about my college fund. I said, honey, there is no college fund. You're going to deliver pizzas, and that will be your college fund.
Yeah. Now my daughter, she took 2 years of community college, which I've been able to fund all of that for her. And I told my son I could do the same thing for him and then transfer. I mean, so like in a couple of months, she's going to be 20, or she'll be 20 in a week, but in a couple of months, she'll already have a degree at 20 years old, which is more than I've got.
Yeah, same here.
So that's, if you can convince your kids, that's really the way. But I don't know, he might make a good spy or something, something like that. Intelligence agent. I could see that.
Well, man, we don't want to keep you from your family. It's great to see you. I'm so glad you did stop in. Is there? I'll give you your one final word before you go. Is there one final word of wisdom you have for us tonight before you say goodnight?
If out of the blue you start playing solitaire nonstop and don't get interested in other apps, you might want to go see a doctor. That was one of my first symptoms. I don't know if it's like a regression to my past of childhood, but I've been playing a lot of solitaire for like a month and a half, even before I knew I was sick. So it was kind of weird. Keep an eye out on that, guys.
Okay.
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, man.
All right. Bye.
All right. Now he's gone. We can talk about it behind his back.
Yeah. Yeah. Illinois. Huh. Who would live there? Yeah.
So, if you Podnutz audience like myself wish Eric the best, an email, a text message, a tweet, wherever he is, man, wherever you can find him, those little things go a long way. They really do. Just a quick word saying, thinking about you, praying for you, whatever works for you. We'll just encourage you to do that. We often ask for feedback on the show. And we want you to tell us how we're doing, but this is a different kind of request for feedback. There's definitely going to be some times in Eric's future where he's pretty down and could use a word of encouragement. And I think it would be a pretty cool thing if you were that word of encouragement.
Absolutely. And yeah, aaa@podnutz.com. He is on Twitter, I believe, Silicon Wrench. At Silicon Wrench, I believe it's his handle there. And nobody is on Google Plus anymore. So what's the point?
Well, you got like 16 more days for Google Plus. So.
And I'll say this, they are doing it right in some manner, because they're gingerly removing the signs of its existence. Like now when you log into Google, in the top right-hand corner, there is no notifications being shown there. They just started doing that a couple days ago. So they're like slowly weeding it out. It isn't like it's going to be a Band-Aid being ripped off all at once. And I'm going to be there till the last day. I'm going to, on the very last day, send a message. Thank you for all the fish, or something,
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the one, like, look, there's no transitioning out of this kind of thing. Even if you want to troll Eric, just send him an email with a link to BB Dan.
Get him
all
off that
good.
solitaire, man.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I did want to actually talk about, Mark, and it's actually a little bit serious, is what I'm going to say. And I purposely tried not to talk too much about it for a while, because I know I'm biased. I know I have my tendencies. And it is the Huawei company basically going through a lot of stuff. The CEO's daughter being arrested in Canada for extradition hearings. The United States government basically banning them from the U.S. market, banning them from contract companies to use them, and basically coercing other countries as well to not use them as any kind of hardware infrastructure. Um, uh, and so now they basically started a lawsuit and said, you know, prove to the world that we are bad, prove to the world that we are evil, prove to the world that we've done bad things in the past, because they admitted in their press conference, which was a 37-minute press conference, link will be in the notes, where they basically said the United States government was caught hacking our email servers. They said that twice. So the logic is, go ahead, show the proof. Show the proof that we've been stealing technology. Show the proof that we've been uh, working with the government and all this other stuff. Show this to the public. And my guess is that we're not going to be able to prove it. Now,
well, you don't make the challenge if you know there's proof. So them not being able to prove it doesn't actually change anything.
Well, I know, but absence of evidence is absence of evidence.
Right.
So, and look, the first thing I'll say is, do I trust X company to not hand over X information to X country? No, of course not. Every company that's located in a country is beholden to that country. Example, United States FISA courts, every company. Google, Microsoft, Sprint, Verizon, Facebook, they all hand over gobs of information to the government because that's what you have to do. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Now, like when I was a kid and in my adult then life, anytime I knew somebody who every time they came in their house, their significant other would like incessantly ask them if they've been cheating on them. It turned out the person who kept asking over and over again if you're cheating on me was the person who was actually cheating on them. So with the US government screaming that this is happening with Huawei and the Chinese government, that just tells me the opposite is actually happening in gross amounts. We have Samsung, we have LG, we have Motorola, we have AT&T, we have Sprint, we have all the other manufacturers working with the United States government, and Huawei is the one who isn't working with the United States government. So I think the blame is completely bogus, nothing more than a pressure tactic to try to get them to do what we want them to do. And of course I'm biased. I have a Huawei phone. My biggest thing about this whole thing is I don't like anybody suppressing competition or technology. I'm not going to say this technology that they're going to offer the US is going to make my life perfect or anything to that, but making communications better, faster, more stable is good for everybody. And if they make money off of it, well, that just means that they did a better job than other companies. So
I tend to agree with you. If the product they make is solid, until such time as it can be not even proven's not even the right word, until some evidence surfaces that there is wrongdoing, I'm not going to deprive myself of high quality hardware at a reasonable price under suspicion that there might have been. I mean, that's McCarthyism at its finest. I thought that we as a nation and as maybe even as a race of people had evolved beyond that sort of thing, but that's just my Pollyanna beliefs.
Well, and see, I'm like an utter non-absolutionist now. So my logic is we don't trust anybody completely blindly without question. So what we do as a country is we put measures in place that if such communications are detected, we can trunk the line, which we can already do. We already have systems in place that can basically cut off access to or from outside the US to other specific countries, specific ranges of IP addresses, blah, 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 blah. Some people are saying, I think accurately, it was easier to do this kind of thing 3, 4, 5 years ago because IPv4 was it. Now with IPv6, they're saying because of the nature of IPv6, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to block by country or that kind of thing.
Yeah, but with a few lines of code, you could disable every MAC address by the Huawei manufacturer. All of those chips come off with the same, I think it's the first 6 digits of a MAC address are unique to manufacturer. And with just a few lines of code, you could take them off the net entirely. Would not be difficult to do.
Well, it isn't the phones themselves. They're actually, the government is saying that they're worrying about, it's the infrastructure, it's the towers, it's the back end of the networks, the switches, the routing kind of stuff.
Right. But each one of those things, like I said, each one of those things has a MAC address uniquely. That would be the big band hammer. I mean, that would break a lot of stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that you could do if you really believed it.
Well, and then, so then here's me. Well, then you make sure that devices sold with 5G modems also have 4G modems in them. This ain't rocket science. We did it with 3G and 4G. In fact, my phone today can go from 1X to 2 to 3G to 4G. It can do LTE, it can do it all. So, and that's why I think this is literally nothing more than just politics being politics. It's a shame that companies have to feel the effect. It's a shame that customers aren't going to get things as fast as they possibly could. And to be honest, it's a shame that a guy's daughter is being held in a third country against her will. She's in house arrest now, and supposedly the extradition hearings are going to happen here really soon. And if they did maliciously do violate sanctions, why don't we just do what we did with ZTE, another Chinese company, and just make them pay us money? I mean, I like money. Do you like money?
Money doesn't stop anything or change anything, but I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing. The theory is that they're backed by the Chinese government, right? So the Chinese government has plenty of money, or do they? I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know in the global stage right now.
Well,
if anybody actually has any real money.
Well, today it was announced that a couple firms said that all of the numbers given, it was supposedly almost a 12% growth for the last 5 years in China, but they've been investing as fast as they've been earning. But a couple reports today said that they've been lying, and their growth was actually between 2 and 3% less than what they were saying. And if that number holds true, they expected this year to be around 6 to 6.5% growth, which then know they're going to be much closer to around 4% growth, which is going to make them almost a normal country, is what I'll say.
So while we're on the subject, let me take this opportunity to hawk a book I read recently. It's called Crashes and Crises. It's part of the Great Courses series. It's on Audible. Obviously, I don't actually read things. I just put them on Audible. Oops, I didn't mean to start playing it. So yeah, it's lessons from the history of financial disasters. It's one of the Great Courses series, and I recommend that you check it out if you are into such things at all, because it talks about just this sort of stuff, nations colluding to make their numbers look better, businesses. It's a really, if you're into history and economics and this discussion that we're just having, I recommend that book. And if you don't happen to already have an Audible subscription, elementop.com/audible, get a free subscription and I get a kickback. So well, you get a free book. You have to sign up for the subscription, and if you like it, you pay. That's the way that works. That's the way all this stuff works, So anyway, just thought I'd throw it out there. Didn't mean to do an ad, but I truly think you'd enjoy this book if you're enjoying this conversation.
Well, and the two quickies, any podcast that says Amazon is a sponsor is lying, or they're so incompetent they don't understand the definition of the word sponsor. Amazon does not sponsor anybody, okay? That's literally like, do I stop and hold a conversation with an ant? No, because they're too small. Amazon's not sponsoring any podcast. they do have affiliate programs. And I will say the best thing about Audible is you can get it for the first month. You can get whatever books you want. I think you can get 2 books and then cancel, and you get to keep the book. There's no better deal. There's no better fair deal when it comes to audiobooks that I know of. There are a bunch of free services out there that do offer, good content, but the level of quality with Audible seems to be uh, uh nobody gets even remotely close to.
Absolutely.
And I will say the great courses I have now, you're like the 4th or 5th person this year that has mentioned it to me, and nobody has said anything even remotely bad about that service. So it at least has my attention, is what I'll say.
Yeah, I will say that this professor doing the reading is not the best narrator in the world, but it's all right. So anyway, just moving on from there.
Next thing I wanted to bring up, Mark, is it basically references something we were talking about. I think I want to say last week, where we were talking about what phone technologies come, what phone technologies go, kind of thing. And one of the ones that we were thinking about was dual screen phones. Well, there's a link on The Verge. It basically is the best Chinese phones not available in the U.S. With a ridiculous, huge, insane image above the fold. I'm happy I don't work at The Verge because I wouldn't understand what the hell they're doing when they present web pages. But I digress. But if you scroll through, they go through a lot of phones from the Xiaomi Mi 9, the Mi Mix 3, the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, the Honor View 20, you keep going down, Vivo V15 Pro, the Vivo Nix, and then the next one was the Vivo Nex Dual Display Edition. So there is a phone launched basically right now that's new that literally has a front and a back screen, where the front is basically complete screen, ridiculously edge to edge screen with a super tiny chin, and the back is like basically a normal phone with a chin at the bottom and a forehead like at the top. So no matter what we think here in the US, it's literally like, we only see, considering the earth is round, we only see, less than 1% of anything. In the United States, when it comes to technology and phones, we literally only see like maybe 5 to 10% of the types of phones that are out there. And in my honest opinion, we get primarily junk and garbage phones. And the real high end phones are typically not making their ways to our shores. The last number I heard was the percentage of Oppo, OnePlus, Xiaomi, and Honor phones in the US was about 0.1%. So just weird people like me that go out and, buy them on their own.
And just, hey, Verge, if you're listening, and I know you are, wipe the dang dust and fingerprints off your phones before you take pictures of them. This is embarrassing for you.
Yeah, I mean, and they should understand with the technology as it is, I can then like CSI zoom and enhance those images, and then I can do robberies and put fake fingerprints there and basically frame your peeps because you ain't very smart.
You have to say the word enhance a few times though.
Enhance, that's the word.
Enhance.
I couldn't remember.
Enhance.
And I'll say at least three of these phones have pop-up selfie cameras, which tells me by next year, maybe the end of next year, we will have a large amount of phones in the US that have pop-up selfie cams, which I am perfectly okay with because I want more screen on the front and less teardrops or notches or selfie cams.
Somebody's going to have to explain to me why I would want 6 phones and a camera. I don't understand.
6 cameras in a phone.
Yeah, 6
you
phones,
said
6 cameras in a phone. Yeah.
It's the old 32, 64-bit argument, Mark. It's a bigger number, must be better. Because I can't. The Nokia that looks like a spider's eye What no one understands is there's 6 circles. One of them is a flash, so it's 5 cameras. And everyone says all the cameras are the same. It isn't like one's infrared, one's wide angle, one's this, one's no, they're all the exact same type of camera. And even the people I know that are camera fanatics say, well, the sad part is the picture quality you get isn't, 5 times better. So that I can't begin to even start to explain logic with that stuff, Mark. I can't. I can anything I say is a guess or a lie.
It's the fins on the 57 Bel Air. It's we can't make anything that actually makes a difference. So let's make something ludicrous.
Ludicrous speed. I don't. Yeah.
This particular phone, but the Vivo, it's an AI triple camera. So they use those letters that therefore makes it better. It's AI.
Yeah. I'm so sick of that stuff, Mark. There is a game called OXO. The first game that was advertised, marketed, saying it had artificial intelligence. It was a computer game. And the statement was, well, because the moves are not determined, you, the human, pick a place to go on the tic-tac-toe board, because XOXO or OXO. Then the computer will use artificial intelligence to decide where to go next. It's not predetermined, so it's artificial intelligence. And this was 1958. Okay. So it's all about perspective. I'm sure 5 years ago, look at what people are doing today with artificial intelligence, and it seems like artificial intelligence. And I'm sure 8 years from now, looking back at what people call artificial intelligence today, people will say, no, it's not artificial intelligence. It's just more advanced computing, and nothing more. I don't know. I'm like, irate with the number of clickbaity articles about machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Well, so that reminds me of another book I recently read called On Intelligence by Jeff Hawkins. Jeff Hawkins is the guy that wrote the graffiti input language for Palm. And the book was written in like 2009 or 10, so it's a few years old. And some of the things he said we'll never be able to do, we're actually doing all day, every day now. But it's a book about designing artificial intelligence, and his central premise is that we can't design artificial intelligence because we don't know what organic intelligence is. And the best we could ever do is just throw more processing cores and hope for the best. Another interesting book, On Intelligence by Jeff Hawkins. Again, available on audio. If I mention a book, it's audio because I don't actually read.
Right. And yeah, and here's like ultimately where I come down with this kind of stuff, Mark. How many numbers are between 0 and 1?
No whole numbers, lots of fraction integers.
Right. So the answer is it depends.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's either none or 1 or whatever, or infinite. Depends on how you classify it. Same thing with this. We're going to have insane numbers of grades of things that are happening that other people will constantly call artificial intelligence. But to actually have something sentient with, deep thoughts, that's mysticism. I mean, quite literally, that's like going back to 1920 and pulling out an iPhone. You'll get hung. You know what I mean? So the actual idea of actual artificial intelligence, in my belief, is extremely uncommonly far off. We as human beings have a very hard time discerning uncertain, distant risk from up close, certain risk. We just can't do it. So people hear artificial intelligence and think, it's going to take over the world, and kill us, and Skynet, and cure every disease, and decide, well, I know how to get rid of cancer, get rid of all humans,
So, Dora, I'm sure you did such a masterful job of editing that our audience doesn't know this, but exactly 1 week ago tonight, as we were doing a show, I said, I got to go. And I jumped up and ran. What had happened was my garage door opener went absolutely insane. So my wife had gone out to take the garbage to the curb because, I make my wife do that. And so she came back in and put the garage door down. And a few minutes later, while she's not anywhere near it, the garage door is trying to go down again, but it's already down. And it's just grinding away, trying to push that belt down. And it keeps trying, and it overheats, and it starts shooting flames out of it and filled my entire garage. I sit now above the garage. So the ball upon which I currently sit is on the garage ceiling, essentially. And it was vibrating, and I could actually smell like the burned resistor smell coming out from it. And so I just ran down there and yanked the plug out of it and then opened the garage door so the smoke would come out, and came back up here and finished the show. And then the next day, called in a professional, and my thinking was, I don't know what caused this, so I'm not going to just replace one part of the system. I want all of it gone. Because, I don't know, I could replace the motor. It could happen again. But I think that part of what attributed to this issue is it's one of those smart garage door openers that you can open, via Wi-Fi. I don't know why you need to do that. But of course I have my phone set up to it. But for, maintaining resale value and whatever, I replaced the same thing with the current unit. Anyway, all that to say, it was an overly intelligent device, and those intelligence, quote unquote, were the downfall of it. The garage door guy said, I've been doing this 30 years. I've never seen one of these. It was melted. Like, I can't even describe to you how insanely effed up this thing was. And I'm sure that if I had just had a dumb, no-name Home Depot garage door opener, it would have worked for 30 years and not have been a problem. But because this was a fancy one, it was only 3 years old. It was put in 2016. So coming up on 3 years old. Yeah, I'm sure that had I had a dumb one, it would still be working.
Right. Well, I'll say I did edit it out, but I'm also completely sure I did not do as good of a job editing it as Steve C would have done, because I knew here comes an edit coming up in the show, and I still couldn't identify when the edit happened. I'm sure somebody smart could. There's where the edit happened. I'm just happy you're home. That you were home to be able to catch it.
Could have been a very different story.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this is like another example of a failure in human perception. More features mean more failure points. That's all it means. The more features you introduce are just more points of possible failure, and that's like having a smart TV. Just means there's more different ways it can break. A smart garage door opener, it's just more ways it can just, go boom, figuratively and literally.
And the irony was, it was almost to a penny the exact same amount to replace it as I had gotten in my tax refund that same day.
Oh, that's almost like somebody said, I know, let's not make Mark happy with that refund.
Yeah. So I'm not one of those that gets $4,000 refunds. Yeah, it was scary how close the two numbers were.
Gotcha. Here's the link, Mark, posted 1 day ago. And even though I listened to, lots and lots of podcasts, I haven't heard anybody talk about this yet. Reading words, hard, painful. So I didn't read this entire thing, but I will say it didn't make much sense. It's on TechCrunch, and it says Google gives Android developers new tools to make money from users who don't pay. The gist of it is we all have heard the trope. I don't know how true it is. The trope that the average Apple iPhone user gives X amount of money per year to buy apps or services through their phone, and the average Android user in the US gives demonstrably less each year. I have no idea if that's actually true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me is what I'm going to say. So the logic is Google is now going to give other ways for people to make money. And this makes absolutely no sense to me, because they're saying that the feature may make developers happy because it's going to basically like interrupt the middle of a game and allow the person to watch a full screen video takeover, an ad. Don't we already have this?
Right. I don't see what's new about it.
That's what I don't get. I have no idea how this is new and different than what we already have, but they're saying this is new. The only thing I can guess is it can maybe be better integrated in the app. Like, some of the apps, when you get the full screen ad, you can hurry up, hit home, and then go back to the app and the ad disappears. So maybe it's just going to be better integrated into the SDK. I don't understand, but this is the kind of thing that I do not like. This is an example of Cory Doctorow explaining how we are merely low-level users on our devices, and we're not administrators of our device. So any app I run, anytime I get a full-blown video ad up in that app, it is immediately uninstalled. And if I could, in the App Store, click a button that says never, under any circumstance, show me this app in any search for any reason, I would click it. But of course, they don't give me that option.
So it's a commercial. This is the commercial method that we've been using in radio and television for generations. And YouTube does it all the time on their ads, right? Video will resume after ad. I don't understand why this is considered new. It's the classic pay per impression third-party payer model. I'm not angry that it exists. I don't think that it's a big deal either. Either way, I mean, it's not positive, it's not negative. It's just the next thing. We know that commercials work. It's been proven over and over again that commercials work. So we're moving them to the video game.
Well, they work to a degree, is what I'll say. And this is literally like saying, "Hey guys, water's wet." Because to me, it does look like the same thing, and it looks obvious. But I will say there was a study yesterday. I can't remember what it was, but Chase Manhattan, Chase credit cards kind of thing. There were 3 companies involved in this study. Chase was one of them. They reduced their amount of ad spending on Facebook and another site down from $5,000 a day down to $90 a day, and they could not tell a difference in the response rate. So what now companies are starting to believe is that nobody needs to spend as much money as they're spending in ads, is what people are going to start saying here. So ads are going to be, they're going to be more sparse from people buying them. But here's the problem. All that means is that the ad people are going to then try to drive up the price of them, thus trying to bring a balance back, because they need as many ads to be shown as possible so they can maximize how much money those in between companies make. So I think YouTube had an adpocalypse. That was an unbelievably shallow and self-centered thing for YouTubers to do. We as consumers, I think, are approaching an adpocalypse to where our browsers are already inundated on a lot of websites. It's difficult sometimes to just get to the friggin' content. I think literally this year it's going to actually get worse. It's going to get marginally worse. It's going to get bad to the point to where it's going to be painful to go to some websites, and some of us might just stop going to random websites.
Well, there's a certain well-known podcaster who likes to say, pay for what you like. And that model fixes this, right? So either you don't like it enough to pay for it, or you like it enough and you pay for it and they don't need ads. I mean, that's done. So until people start buying their own stuff, as long as they're expecting somebody else to pay for it for them, there has to be some sort of exchange there. NBC television shows you commercials because that's the third-party payer. Netflix doesn't show you commercials because you're paying for it. It's really simple. If you don't like commercials, if you don't like ads, if you don't like what the web has become, pay for what you like.
Yeah, and economist I was listening to last week. I'm going to make this free and clean in G. He said, right now the problem with Americans is everybody wants a free lunch, and the problem is the only thing getting served is a crap sandwich, for free. Like the quality of everything that we are getting, when we trade our time for stuff is just ramping down quickly. So it's going to get to a point to where the people who do pay for stuff are going to literally be like your almost out of like a bad comedy sketch, Blue Bloods. When I go and I browse from my device, I don't see all these ads. Yeah, what are these ads? Kind of stuff, because the normal folk who don't pay these prices are basically going to be drove back to watch more TV, or do other stuff. Is the logic? And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with there being less annoying people on the internet. I don't want to say like Malcolm X by any means necessary, but almost by any means necessary.
This TechCrunch article that you referenced, of course, has an ad displaying the fact that there's an ad. But right now, I'm seeing a HeartGuard, heartwarming pet medication, a Disrupt San Francisco 2019 pre-registration ad, a Keebler Perfectly Fudgy Cookies ad, and several 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ads, house ads, links to other articles on TechCrunch. So the actual content on this page, 30% of the page, and all the rest of it is advertising.
Yeah.
Because.
I mean, it's going to be like the Fifth Element kind of thing pretty soon, Mark. Like when you go to smoke a cigarette, it's going to be, 10% cigarette, 90% filter. I mean, yeah. And I would say really tangent. The last geek rant. What was it, me? Or did I not hear the Fifth Element mentioned once?
It didn't make the list.
Hey, look, Mark, I respect you. I respect Miles. I respect Seth immensely. And I did hear some good movies mentioned. Really, I heard some crap mentioned too. No Young Frankenstein? No Fifth Element? I mean, look, I know I'm old and everything, but
I do love both of those movies, but no, they didn't make the best of the last 12 months. Sorry.
Well, the best thing you saw in the last 12 months, they didn't have to be from the last 12 months. Man, I mean,
and I watch The Fifth Element 2 or 3 times a year. It's every couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same here. Because it's Bruce Willis. It's one of his, I think, best movies, but also Zorg. I can't remember his name.
Gary Oldman.
Oh my!
Chris Tucker is brilliant in it.
Yeah. Ruby, gotta love Ruby. They would ask, "What does this button do?" Or "What does the red button do?" I mean, it's just, oh man, it stuck me deep. Yeah, it hurt, Mark. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I did implore the listeners to give us their suggestions for that.
I know, but I was really afraid. I know, but I was really afraid that I would send something that would come off really mean-spirited. So I said, let's not send this right now, because I literally typed it out, and I know I'm going to say this as a draft because I'm pretty sure it's going to come off like I'm being really mad, because I'm a little bit mad. Oh man, Mark. I only have actually a couple apps, and really the two that I have really wanted to bring, should bring. They're both accessibility focused apps, which of course I hear jerks on the internet want to use as like spying devices, because That's like the lowest common denominator of human being. Um, one of them is called sound amplifier, and essentially, if you have hearing disorders or just hard of hearing, um, hard to discern what someone's saying in a louder area, kind of thing. This app basically uses noise cancellation that's basically built into your phone. The long and the short of it is no phone built in the last 10 years has a single microphone on it. Most phones have 2, 3, or 4 mics on it, and only the mic closest to what it perceives as being the main thing to listen to, is, like, basically turned up, and all the other mics, they pick up all the other noise, and then they noise cancel out what they consider to be background noise to try to make stuff sound better.
Interesting. I mean, hearing aids do that. Yeah.
Right, and this is basically I don't wanna say if you cannot afford a hearing aid, but this is if you don't need a hearing aid, you're not quite that far off to need a hearing aid, but you're in a situation where it's really hard to hear stuff. All the trolls, all the dirty, journalist people I heard, talking about using this to spy on people said that they do believe it was not capable of working with Bluetooth earbuds, which I have no idea why Google would not have this enabled with Bluetooth earbuds, but maybe that's a way that they won't let people use it as a spying device. I don't know. I will say I'm easily confused, but I would be shocked if this doesn't work with Bluetooth. The second application is called Live Transcribe. This we've seen other applications do this basic same kind of thing, which then obviously those applications are just pulling from the Google API to do this kind of thing. Um, if this is intended for someone who is deaf, so that's the real gist of it. You literally can't hear anything. You open this app on your phone, and then people can talk, and it will immediately transcribe it into words. And I will say, Mark remembers back in the beginning of Google Voice and just how comical bad the transcriptions used to be. Um, and then they did Goog 411, and then they did some other things where they're basically just getting more and more voice samples. Now, okay, Google Assistant really is nothing more than a tool to gather more voice samples to try to make stuff like transcription and comprehension of spoken word even better. AKA, that's why the Google Music podcast will have transcriptions built into it. Um, so if you know someone who's completely deaf or virtually deaf and needs transcription on the fly, they don't have to worry about ads in the app. They don't have to worry about in-app purchases, and they do not have to worry about buying the app outright if they just look up Live Transcribe by research at Google. It is Google. E for everyone, a whopping one view on the Play Store.
If they get this working, I think you were mentioning it in your last DoorToDoorGeek episode, that they're looking at doing transcriptions of audio content and video content on Google servers, podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff. Because they're all about text ads, they have to be able to make everything into text. And this is a case where capitalism wins, right? We get this amazing tool because Google needs the whole world to be text. And yeah, they've been working on this. If you have been using Google Voice since they bought Grand Central way back when, it's because they needed voice data, right? Every time somebody left a voicemail, and still today, I assume, on Google Voice, they're working on that data, and it's taken 15, 14, somewhere around there years to do it. But we're finally to a point where, holy crap, this is one of those things that if it works like they say it does, this is game changing, not just for the hearing impaired, but for everybody. You don't ever have to take notes in class ever again. Just have one person sit there with a phone, and everybody else gets the notes.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you right now, if I wasn't okay, Mark, when my oldest son is of age, out of high school, I'm going to encourage him to take a year off work soil oats, whatever. You know what I mean? And then let's go back to school. And I'm going to tell them straight up. Okay. Because let me tell you something. I'm a numberholic. I'm a bit OCD, a little bit ADD. When he's 18 years old is when I have 30 years at my job. There's no accident there. Okay. So when he's 18, I'm quitting my job basically. And then if he wants to go to college, I will volunteer to go to college with him because I am a extremely undereducated fella, is what I'll say. And it will give me a chance to basically learn along with him. And if, he needs help with stuff, I'll be right there for him. Don't want to baby him, but literally, some people just need help. And if he doesn't want me to go to school with him, I might go to school someplace else. And let me tell you something, that Android device will be sitting out on that table and it will have a battery connected to it. And I will be sitting there listening to podcasts, not listening to a damn word that teacher's saying because my phone is recording it all. And then later I can play it back at a faster speed because that teacher talks too damn slow.
I had a particular class in college. This tells you the kind of student I was. First day of class, I heard two pieces of information that I needed to know. First piece of information was attendance is optional. Second piece of information is here are the 4 test dates. I attended that class exactly 5 times. The first day and the 4 test dates. Because I don't need the lectures.
And there are people that do. There's no shame if somebody says that they need those lectures. But here's a really quick example, Mark, of just how undereducated of a fella I am. I'm sitting there looking through app listings, and I will say, I want to say it's Android Police. It might be Android Central. One of them does an extremely scummy posting every week saying the 5 apps you can't miss this week. And then you go look at it and there's never 5 apps in the list. There's 1 app in the list. And then there's other stuff. There's not apps. And then there's a huge link to a YouTube video that I'm not watching because I ain't got time for that. You know what I mean? I woke up and I got bronchitis and I ain't got time for that. Then there's the other website where it says like this week, here's 15 apps or 10 games. And that's the good website to go to find apps. So I'm scrolling through and I'm looking at apps and I look at this app and I say, Scooterise Heritage Grease in VR. And I look down at the picture. I'm undereducated enough to literally say Scooterise. What is it? Some kind of scooter VR app where you can scooter around Greece? But I will admit, it was only like 3 seconds later, 5 seconds later, I said, oh, Socrates or Socrates. I always call him Socrates. So it was Socrates Heritage Greece in VR, where I'm a firm believer one of the only places where VR can be useful is literally when you're taking tours of distant lands. So I saw this and I honestly thought this was kind of cool, but it highlighted my, ignorance.
No, that you were right the first time. That is Scooterise, not Socrates. And I think you're exactly right. I think it is somebody got on a Segway with a VR camera and rode around Greece.
Well, then I'm that double entendre incompetent is what you're saying.
I'm saying you had it right the first time and you talked yourself out of it.
Dang. I'm glad nobody downloads this and listens to this. Okay. Party on.
I think you nailed it the first time. Because it's VR. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Tool around Greece as if you were on a Segway. Let me read an email while you compose yourself. So Kevin writes in and says, hey, I was listening to the latest show and you mentioned my email. I found myself smiling like a kid getting a question right in class. Thanks for the rush. I came across an app that fills a need for my old Galaxy S5. It's called Meteor Swipe. It lets you set up a swipe from the left or right side of your screen with different themes, with different themes and sizes. I'm sorry, Kevin. It's a useful app. I like it. Again, thanks for all you do. I hope you guys have a great day. P.S. Tell Eric to get well soon. P.P.S. I love the banter you guys have. Keep up the great work. So I'm going to have to read this a couple of times. You swipe from the left or right side of the screen, and you have different themes, size. So you can change the theme on your phone with a swipe. Sorry, Kevin. I'm going to need a little more help. Dor, did you follow that? Am I just being thick today?
Yeah, it made perfect sense.
Okay.
As long as you don't require an explanation.
Great. I have come to the realization that Thursdays are a worst possible day for me to be on a podcast because I'm just burned out mentally by the time we get here.
Okay.
Ivor says that the live stream isn't working, by the way.
Well, that's not good. It says it's streaming. It says it's green. It says it's healthy. So I'm not sure where the problem. I don't know.
Yeah. We're
Question
an hour
mark?
in. At this point, it's a little too late.
Oh, we're kind of late. It does look like this is an edge launcher kind of thing, is what I'm going to say. Do have a linky. Oh, that's not a link. That is a link. Yeah, it looks like a side launcher is what I call them, where you basically have like one click ability to quickly access things. I have seen a couple of them in the past where they do also have the ability to launch applications, but also to do like custom quick personalization changes.
Yeah, I'm going to say that Kevin was sending that email from a phone, and he stopped in the middle of a sentence because somebody came up and asked him a question, and then he came back to the middle of that sentence and finished it, and he just didn't write his full thought. That's what that's what it would have been my explanation.
Right. Or I'll say this. I don't know if you had this happen, Mark. I'm typing a sentence out and I'm like 8 words in, and then I accidentally touch the wrong place, and then the cursor jumps back 5 words, but I don't notice it, and I keep typing.
Yep, that happens. Or worse yet, it'll actually erase the whole line you're on,
yeah,
and replace it with the last word of the line.
Right. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure what he's intending is the sidebar is themeable. I think the gist of it.
Yeah, the video makes it all clear now. It's different themes and sizes of the sidebar, and it's a one-touch launcher. Okay, got it. Makes perfect sense now. I just needed to see it in action.
Yeah, and I am a fan of side launchers. I call them side launchers. I'm a big fan of them. If I don't have to go back to my home screen, I never do. Ever do.
And then we have one other email. It's from Adam, our friend over the pond. He says, "Hey, it's Adam, the over pond geek, i.e. in the United Kingdom, with a few more app suggestions for you and your listeners. However, first of all, let me say get well soon to Eric. This time I found a game for each of you, and this is a test of how well I know you all. For Eric, who I know is long wished for a game that combines medieval monarchy with Tinder, I suggest Reigns. Here you rule a kingdom by swiping left or right for as long as you can before the peasants, nobility, army, church, or family cut off your head. This is much more along the lines of interactive humor than strategy. There's several flavors of the game, including a Game of Thrones version." That sounds awesome. For Mark, I suggest Colorzzle. Pronounce that however you can, which is a color matching and blending puzzle game of increasing complexity and difficulty. Each game is short enough to play in a grocery line. There's a free version containing the first 50 levels you can try. And for Dor, I suggest Fizz Brewery Management Game, which will allow him to apply his much-honed game dev tycoon skills to becoming a brewery tycoon instead. As far as I'm aware, none of these games have in-app purchases. Certainly, I only paid once for them. And he's got the links here that I will put in the show notes. Keep up the great work, fellows. With Brexit looming, I can't justify to the wife making a Patreon donation to AAA, so I try to support you by emailing and spreading the word about your podcast. Regards, Adam over the pond geek. Awesome. Thank you, Adam.
Mark, I'm not going to lie. I was kind of afraid to even click the link and look at the app that he said was for me because a game dev tycoon, I put a lot of hours into that game. Oh man,
I should be like, I just sucked 1 year of your life away.
Yeah. Tell me how it feels. Yeah. So I'm not going to click it right now. Here's the logic, Mark. Well, I have Stardew Valley coming out 7 days from now. I'm going to try to use this app as a chaser to Stardew Valley. So when I need to stop playing Stardew Valley, I'm gonna launch this game and see if it can take me away from it. That's my logic. Because I saw this email and I was afraid to click it. And I will say the Reigns game we did bring on AAA. I don't know how long ago. It's not a newer game, but I will tell you this. It is such a simple game that anybody can pick up and comprehend with no assistance, no help, and it is filled with comedy from beginning to end. You have I think it's like a rock paper scissors gauge type thing where you have to keep them all happier, and if one gets too unhappy, they'll either kill you, you'll die, or there was a third option, like you would just be like overthrown. I think it was. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was something like that, and it was so and honestly, the game was so successful, they literally brought it to other platforms, including they actually have a PC version and they have it on the Switch. And my son had a gift card given to him like a month ago, and he bought it for the Switch, and he just sits there and just cackles away laughing at it. And I asked him if he's ever won. He said, "You can win." So he doesn't even care if he wins. He just thinks it's a really, really fun game.
And I'm watching the video for Colorzzle. It actually looks pretty amazing. Looks like a game I would absolutely enjoy if I weren't raging colorblind. Thank you for bringing up such a sensitive subject. No, I'm absolutely not. That looks cool. I will install it.
That was an epic troll, Mark. I gotta just say that. And I'll say this. Again, listening to 24 plus hours of podcasts, more than a couple of it is BBC related content. The worst thing about Brexit isn't Brexit. It isn't hard Brexit. It isn't soft Brexit. It isn't. No, it's just uncertainty. Uncertainty is the absolute worst part I can tell with Brexit is nobody really knows how X is going to be affected, how Y is going to be affected, what's going to happen with medications, what's going to be happening in Ireland. Are companies actually leaving the UK like people are saying that they're leaving? If they are, they're taking jobs with them. What are the short-term effects? What's going to happen in the next, because it's happening in 30 days or less than 30 days. What's going to happen in the first 3 months? What's going to happen in the next 6 months? What's going to happen in the next 3 years? It's uncertainty.
All right, that's all I got for emails. And that was a pretty heavy bit of apps there provided by our listeners. So, Dor, what else have you got to round us out?
I was going to bring just one more app, and only because it tried to be at least a little bit different. I like apps that try to do more than just your average thing. And the word I'm looking for here, Mark, I'm trying to remember. It's when multiple technologies converge. Convergence is what it is. There's a book out that you can buy called, I believe, Convergence. Okay, it's a book. You buy the book. You get the book. You start reading the book. In the book, there's pictures. And then when you see the pictures in the book, you pull out your phone with the Convergence app, and then AR things happen based upon what you're reading in the book. So it's basically trying to extend just your basic book to augmented reality full motion video sequences as well. I'll just say this. Interesting idea. I have no idea how successful this is or how cool this is. I just like seeing people trying different things.
Well, see, with your phone, this is a bit of a joke. It's never going to work. But since Google is coming out with their second version of Google Glass, clearly this is the future.
Well, here's the gimmick. The second edition of Google Glass, they say in like almost like soft things, it's basically enterprise edition. We don't know if this is even going to be purchasable by normal folks.
Normal folks didn't buy the first one.
I'm not going to argue with that. What we do know about it is basically it's just a revision in number, model number. It looks virtually identical. It does have an upgraded processor in it. It's a Snapdragon 700 series, which honestly isn't bad. Has a gig of RAM, and it has a single USB port for charging, and I'm guessing some kind of communications as well. There's little doubt in my mind that we're going to have more and more businesses spending the money to get augmented reality to help make people more efficient and make better choices on the fly. Um, I almost wish I had a job where I had AR just so I could witness it and then, after a day, not have to work there anymore and leave.
Yeah, I could see this being a useful tool. In disseminating minutes, you don't have everybody staring at a projector looking at something. You could project the image to their Google Glass. I mean, I could see in the future this sort of thing would be a useful tool in a cube farm, but I don't see it useful today. We're still years away from that being something that we're ready for prime time.
Yeah, I mean, is it one of those solutions looking for a problem?
Yeah.
I can't give a definitive anything. Yes, no, or maybe.
These things would have to be dirt cheap. They'd have to be $10 or less per device before it's even practical in any way.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it's still incredibly overpriced.
Yeah. All right. So we have several apps for you. Let's see. Pill Logger, Meds Tracker by Alan Dev Co. Live Transcribed, Unreleased by Research at Google, which I opened twice. Sound Amplifier by Google LLC, again. Scooterise, Heritage Greece in VR by Lithodomos VR. Meteor Swipe, Edge Sidebar Launcher by Francisco Barroso. Colorzzle by Dorong Studios. Reigns by Devolver Digital. Fizz Brewery Management Game by Bit Studios, and ConvergenceAR by Happy Giant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 good and solid apps there. So yeah, you got one more to make it an even 10 just because I'm OCD.
Yes, I do, and it is not in Google Play for a reason, because it returns power to the end user. If you do not root your device, then it is a little bit difficult trying to find ways to circumvent ad networks and block ads from your phone. It's possible, it's just not as easy. Now, this is an app that tries to do this. It's called DNSfilter. It's on F-Droid. There is more than a couple F-Droid GUI apps that, to be honest, if you go to F-Droid and look, where you can browse the F-Droid and keep things up to date, they actually work pretty good. This one, DNSfilter, basically it can modify your host file. Long story short, hypothetically, you need a phone number. There's, let's say, 3 different levels you can go to get the phone number. One, you just remember the phone number. If you don't remember the phone number, well, then let me go find that menu over in the drawer. And then if you can't, and that's number 2. And then if you can't find the menu in the drawer, well, then let me just go look on Google. And then so there's 3 different ways you can get this kind of information. The internet works in the same way. There's a phone number, there's an address you can use. The first one, you just use your memory to get. That is essentially the host file on any operating system, whether it's Mac, whether it's Linux, whether it's Windows, it all has a host file, because that's just how networking works. So what this does is it allows you to download list of ad networks and basically what's called a DNS black hole, any ad network. So you don't have to go to the drawer, look at the menu when your phone asks, can I see something from DoubleClick? It won't be able to go to Google and say, what's the address to go get DoubleClick kind of thing. It will remember and say, oh, I know where that is. That's in this never ending black hole of nothingness. So if you're really sick and tired of seeing ads and it just seems like what you're trying to do doesn't seem like it's working, and you do not have root on your device, this actually works pretty good. Now, here's the real trick to it, Mark, if I read this correct. It basically creates a VPN. And because it's using a VPN, it basically forwards all your DNS requests through that. That's how it actually works, not from a host file, because a host file you need to have root access to do, I believe.
Putting a lot of trust in this app. Speaking of trust, this is literally sending all of your data through this application.
Yep. Well, here's the good thing. It's not in some pre-compiled binary format, which actually, it's just like the Chinese government Huawei thing. It doesn't mean anything if it's in clear text. And this app is in complete clear text. This is in GPL open code format, which means anybody can validate the code that's being ran, and you can validate the code that's being downloaded against checksums and PGP marks. But if no one goes and audits the code, it doesn't matter. I don't know if this code's been audited or not, but I do know it's completely in the free and clear code wise. Anybody can go look at it. I'll just say this. If you're completely sick and tired of ads, why not go to F-Droid, DNSfilter, and there is a contact developer button there, I believe, and just contact them. See if you even get an answer. See if he talks to you. And then you can ask him, why can I trust what you're doing?
Because I'm a really nice guy.
Because I'm Canadian, eh?
Hey, kid, would you like to buy an E? All right, that's it. 10 apps, good and round and satisfying my OCD. Thank you, Door, for doing that for me. I'm struggling to find a way to wrap up the show because it was all over the place. I mean, we started with medical discussion, and then we talked about Chinese extradition agreements. This was a well-rounded episode of the Android App Addicts podcast. So I guess all I have to say, Doors, is what are your final words of wisdom for the night?
Support those who support you, and don't forget, check out Geek Grant and show Miles and Seth some love. And if you're in the vast state of Texas and you're anywhere around Seth, why don't you buy some of his cold brew and tell him how good it tastes?
There you go. Patreon.com/Android App Addicts is the most direct way that you can financially support this show. There are many other forms of support that are not financial, and we appreciate everything that you do. The emails, the spreading of the word, the reviews on podcast aggregators, all of those things are awesome. Money is great too. Patreon.com/Android App Addicts. Pledge $5 a month. Really, you can do it. I believe in you. So that's it. Thanks for hanging out with us. Eric, if you're listening, glad to have you back, brother. Looking forward to much more time spent together in the future. Hope you're doing well. And seriously, anything we can do to help. Anything. I will get on a plane. I will fly up there. I will mow your lawn if that's what you need done. Not kidding. I'll do it. So just let us know. That's it for this episode of the Android App Addicts podcast. We'll see you next week.
Yes. Okay. The only thing I don't like about doing a show with limited people is it makes it impossible to document the show, bookmark the show.
Can't keep up with it.
No, and I keep telling myself I'm going to do an auto hotkey thing to where I just copy the URL up to this other computer, paste it, and then I hit special magic keyboard keys, and then I move my mouse off, and it will do the documentation for me. I never, ever do it. Never, ever. 532, 532. Not blind.
All right, let's see if I can do an intro to this thing. International intrigue, misunderstood Egyptian philosophers, and couldn't do it. Try again. Okay, here we go. International intrigue, misunderstood. Man, not working. One more time. International intrigue, misunderstood Greek philosophers. Dang. I can do this. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. Doggone it. People like me. All right. International intrigue, misunderstood Greek philosophers. I'm just going to stop trying to say that. Come up with something else. Meteors, morphine, and murderous contenders to the throne this week and more on Android App Addicts.
So you just decide to make it harder. I guess that's one way to do it.
Here we go.
Dang. Okay. Yeah. Two people said issues with the live stream. Everything says green. Everything says good, at least on my end. And the only thing I can do, I mean, OBS says it's been kicking off a solid 30 frames a second, which is all I ever set it to. Frames dropped 0.0%. Go up to the Goog. I can look at the history of the quality. It never went off of good. I don't know. I mean, I'll try to watch the video after the fact, but I also did do a local recording, so I can publicize that one public as well. I'll publish that one public. I'm just confused myself. I'll publish that one as public this week as well. Typically, I only post that to Patreon people, but I'll post it public as well. Which means I got to stop streaming or else I can't do it. So thanks everyone for trying to watch live. I'm sorry for the quality issues. See if we can get it fixed before next week. Take it easy, guys.